Okay, the mimer is from the Bar Malchus of this week. It's Başlom, Tafshin Yud Beis, 1951. Başlom Nafshim Mikravli Kibarabim Hoyim Madi. Dr. Melch says until in Kapitel Nun Hey, he redeemed in peace my soul. Those that battled me, because with me he was with me. And that is always brought down in the Yutas Kislev Mamorim, also in the Yud Kislev Mamorim, because this is the pasuk that the Alter Rebbe was saying when he was released from prison, which is obviously very appropriate, talking about redeeming from captivity, and the same thing, the Alter Rebbe was physically redeemed at that time. The Esau's the Gemara, it's brought down concerning this in the Gemara. Amra Kadr Baruch Hu, the Eibishter said, whoever is involved in the study of Torah, doing acts of kindness, and he davens with a minion, I consider it as if he redeemed me and my children from amongst the nations of the world. Like the Mefarshei explain that where do we learn out these three things? Torah, Chasadim, davening with a minion. Where do we see that in the pasuk? So the Mefarshei and the Shas explain that when it says the one who redeemed in peace, the idea of in peace, that was the means through the redemption. In other words, the Father is going on Hashem. Hashem is redeemed, and Hashem also, the Jewish people are being redeemed. And it's referring to how is the redemption taking place. Father is how? Bishalom, through Shalom. And what is the words of Shalom? What's the idea of being involved in words of Shalom? Hainu Torah, it's going on Torah. Where do we see that Torah is called peace? And all of its paths are peace. So therefore, when it says Shalom, Hashem is redeemed through the peace, meaning through Torah. And so too, doing acts of kindness is also considered peace. Because that's obvious peace. That doesn't need to have a special pasuk to bring a proof that it's peace. The idea of Gmos Chasadim, when you do acts of tzedakah and Gmos Chesed and all the different things that we have about the different types of Gmos Chasadim, that's bringing peace in the physical sense. So now the Rebbe, as always, wants to see where the explanation that Pnimis HaTorah takes, or Medrash takes, or Drash takes, how it will fit in with the simple pshat in the pasuk, and that they shouldn't be contradictory. So he says in line 11, the simple meaning of the pasuk Başlom is Zeu Maimer David HaMelech. This is a statement by David HaMelech, and just because it's a statement by David HaMelech, it doesn't mean that it was only David HaMelech himself, but it was Avur Knesset Yisrael. It was on behalf of Klal Yisrael. That's why the Rebbe often brings down what it says that David was Ne'im Zmiris Yisrael, the pleasant singer of Yidden, that with his psukim, with his statements, he was speaking on behalf of Klal Yisrael. He wasn't just talking about himself, about his own personal experience. He's talking about the general experience that's reflected in his own personal experience. That's why we daven using David HaMelech's words of Tillim. That's why when we pour out our hearts to Hashem, whether in thankfulness or whether in request, we always say words of Tillim, because these were designed for Klal Yisrael. So what actually happened? So he goes on to say in line 13, there was actual a peaceful redemption by David HaMelech himself. Even though there was a state and situation of a battle, mikravli, from those that battled with me. And the pasuk continues to explain the reason for this. And the reason, as he's going to explain, was key, because berabim hayu imadi. So the The Rebbe is going to explain in the brackets now in line 15, why do you need to give a reason? So he says in the brackets, ain't a moving, it's not understood. How is it possible to have redemption in a peaceful manner? Since there's an idea of war, like it says, from those that battled me. So since you established that there was a battle going on over here, where all of a sudden did the redemption and peace come from? This, he explains in the continuation of the pasuk, because with many he was with me. What does that mean? With many he was with me. So it goes on. It's brought down Yerushalmi. It's referring to David HaMelech's war with Avshalom. That also the members of Avshalom's camp davened for David HaMelech's victory. That's what it means. That there were many of the troops, many of those that were in the opposition to him, that they were against him, meaning they were from Avshalom's camp. They were imadi. They were with me. They were like went over to my side. Those multiple people from Avshalom's side were imadi, were with me. For that reason, I was redeemed in peace. Nafshi, by the way, even though I've translated as soul, Nafshi can mean myself. So I was redeemed in peace because Rabim Hayimad. Imsa comes out, what it says in the pasuk, that with many he was with me. It is explaining the reason for the fact why David HaMelech was peacefully redeemed, though he was in a state of a battle. Based on that, since that is the simple meaning, so we need to figure out how this could fit in with the medrash or agadata type of meaning the Gemara explains. Line 23, Achal Piza, but according to this explanation, according to the simple meaning, it's not understood what the Chazal Darsh in the Gemara, the Padovich Al Nafshi is going on those that are involved in Torah and doing acts of kindness, etc. According to the Gemara, it comes out that what is the cause of the P'diya B'Shalom? It's the Torah Gmos Hasadim. That's a skula from being redeemed in peace. So the redemption is B'Shalom through these two things that are called Shalom, Gmos Hasadim and Torah. According to the simple meaning of the text, the simple meaning of the pasuk, the reason why he was redeemed was only because the many that were with him, that was with me. She's followed top of the next page. Imi, they davened with me. They davened for my behalf. This is actually closely related to the third idea that the Chazal say, that someone that davens with a minion. That's where, how did they learn that out? They learn it out from the fact that it says, Rabim Hayimadi, that when you daven together with a rabbim, when you daven together with a minion, so then that causes the redemption of peace. So that fits in well with the simple meaning as well. That the Medrash opinion is, through davening with a minion, it's considered as if you redeemed Hashem and his children in peace, or you redeemed Hashem and his children. And in the literal sense, what occurred with David, and what David says on behalf of Klal Yisrael is that with davening with a minion, we are redeemed. But the first two parts that you're bringing Torah and Gmos Chasadim have nothing to do with the simple meaning of the pasuk. And it has no connection to being involved in Torah and doing acts of kindness. The Chazal learned this out from the word Shalom. This Torah and doing acts of kindness, the idea behind it is peace. koi tevis b'shalom al oifen habdiyah. Since according to the simple meaning of the word Bishalom, in the simple sense, it's talking about the manner. In what type of redemption could it be? There could be a redemption that's through with a big tumult, with war and so on. And then there could be a calm, peaceful redemption. That the redemption was in the way of peace. In the simple reading of the pasuk, the word Bishalom is not giving you a reason why he was redeemed. It's just telling you the manner of the redemption, which is the Medrash's explanation, which is Torah Gmil Chasadim. According to the Gemara's explanation and so on, according to the Chazal's drasha, so then that when they talk about the B'diyah, it was through peace, which is Torah and Gmil Chasadim. In other words, that the Shalom, according to the Medrash, is a reason instead of just the manner. In the simple reading of the pasuk, the reason why he was redeemed was not the word B'shalom, but what it says later in the pasuk. So the Rebbe concludes, line 10, Nimtza comes out. Shnei Pirushim being a part of Vishalom, there are two explanations in he redeemed in peace. Harishon, the first explanation is Shabbatia Nasis Aidei Inyan Hashol, that the redemption comes about through the idea of peace. That's the Pirush of the Maimer Chazal that we start off the Maimer, the Hainu Torah Gmil Chasadim. Now the Rebbe adds another thing. Even though the third thing about Hamispalul Matzibur is something that's seemingly not learned out of the word Bishalom, that's learned out from Baravim Hayimadi. But the Rebbe is going to bring in that really in the word Bishalom, we can also include the idea of davening with a mid. Line 12. That in the word Bishalom, as a reason why there was the redemption, this also includes davening with a minion. Why is that so? The kivon shemispal matzibur koilos atzum matzibur. So someone davening with a minion includes himself with the rest of the community, with the rest of the congregation. He doesn't stand apart from the congregation. Hareza gam inyan shel shalom. So it's also an idea of peace. So really, all three things that the Chazal say are hinted in the word shalom. In the word shalom is hinted Torah that are called words of peace. It's hinted Gmil Chasadim because it makes peace between people, and it hints at davening with a minion, which is also an idea of being together with the community. Line 15. Basheni, the other way of learning, the second way of learning the pasuk, the simple reading of the pasuk, that the redemption is only in a manner of peace, not that the peace type of activities that we described before is the cause. The idea of peace only explains the manner of the redemption, as opposed to the reason why he was redeemed in peace. That's only later in the pasuk. Because with many he was with me, because the members of Avshalom's camp davened for David HaMelech. And the Rebbe wants to know what's our lahavim case of masim yachad. How do we fit in? We need to understand how the two explanations fit in together. We have to understand this. We need to first preface what's explained in Tanyam. Every Jewish person has two neshamas, that these are called two nefashas. Nefesh achas, nefesh abahamis, one soul is the animal soul, like we have in Perek Aleph in Tanya. Nefesh Hashem Yisrael, the beginning of chapter 2 in Tanya, is the second soul of the Eden. Yichel kel kamem al mamsh, is mamish a part of Hashem above. But Baruch and Alter Rebbe explains on length. Shekol achas mehem chefzer etzoyna shetehi levada mishal salir k'tan zaguf. Each one is desire, its will is that it should be the only one that rules over the miniature city, which is the body. And because it is, there is a war, there is a battle between these two nefashos, between the nefesh halakis and nefesh bahamis. And this war is the goal of the entire creation of person. Like Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, U'l'shem zeh, for this constant battle, Nivra Ha'adam. Do as it's known, Neshama, top of page Zayit, Atzma, Ein Tzricha Tikkun. The Neshama itself does not need any repair. So there, klal, whatsoever. So its descent here into this world is not for itself. It needed nothing. But Yordalamatom, and it did not descend down here below. That by descending down here below, down here below, there's the opposition of the animal soul and the body and the portion in the world are all in opposition to the neshama. So what was the purpose that it descended? He came here to refine his own body. He came here to refine his own animal soul, and he came here to refine and elevate that part of the world that he engages with, that he's in contact with. That is the avodah for which the neshama descended down here below. Line 6, second paragraph on Zayit. The manner in which the nefesh halakis can engage and refine these three things, the body, the animal soul as part of the world, it can be in many ways. It'll come on Siv Gimel, like we'll learn about Nois Gimel. By first prefacing the entire idea about does the nefesh halakis need to even engage, or can it be completely disengaged from all of these things? The Rebbe says yes, it can be disengaged from dealing with all of these things. There's a type of service that the godly soul has no connection whatsoever with the body and the animal soul. Especially when you have a very powerful extreme, when you have the soul of a very high person becomes enclosed in a very low body, like it's brought down in Tanya, that sometimes you can have, at the end of Vedic Beis in Tanya, it speaks about that concept, that you can have that highest, most neshama, and the clippers make sure that you come down into the lowest form, into the lowest type, coarsest type of body. Sometimes the body and the soul are more in concert with each other. For example, let's say Moshe Rabbeinu. It says that when Moshe Rabbeinu was born, so then the Smala Abayis Kuli Oira, the house was filled with light, meaning because even his physical body was not such that it concealed and that it hid away the light of the neshama. The physical body was made in such a way as to be more allowing the godly light of the neshama. So you had a high neshama and a body that was also appropriate to that type of neshama. But sometimes you'll have extremes. You'll have a very high neshama and you'll have a very low body. It says in line 11, what occurs then? Then it's very great, the distance between the spirituality of the soul to the physicality and the materialism of the body. Therefore, the avoid of the neshama could be in such a manner that it won't have any connection with the animal soul and the body. It will do its thing and completely ignore refining the animal soul, refining the body. The neshama could be immersed in ideas of godliness that it's trying to comprehend in a manner that's similar to the way the neshama was before it descended below, that was its preoccupation, godly perceptions. Like it says, the Navi says, if I swear upon Hashem that I stood before him, what does it mean I stood before him? What's this idea that I stood before him, that the neshama above was standing before him? We know it's brought down a lotion that amida standing shows on davening, because that's the time of davening Shemoneh Esrei, and so on. That's the time of Amidah. So therefore, that's so too the neshama down here below is just like when it was above, that it had this connection with godliness and had this great love and awe of Hashem. So too, this person can be that is completely engaged in love and awe of Hashem. That the body and the animal soul remains in their state and situation. In other words, the neshama can experience a love and awe of Hashem that the body and the animal soul feel completely divorced from. The neshama can have this love and awe of Hashem because of its appreciation of godliness that only the neshama can comprehend, because he doesn't explain it and doesn't bring it down to a level that the nefesh habahamis can appreciate it as well. So the nefesh habahamis in the body is just overwhelmed by this powerful love that the nefesh halakis has, but it's not with the program. It's not experiencing the love itself. The nefesh habahamis is not in love with Hashem as well. So what happens? End of line 21. When the godly soul is revealed and in full force, then the existence of the body and the animal soul is not felt. Top of the next page, page Ches. And surely not, if their existence is not felt, how much more all their interests and wants and desires, because the person is completely preoccupied with the godly thing. For example, brought down the mashal in a similar vein. They could have a person that's very preoccupied. And a person, let's say, you can see this also in the Gashmias, but a person could be preoccupied with learning. It could be a new discovery. It could be a business deal, whatever. And he forgets to eat. But it doesn't mean that the body has been convinced and brought to a state where it feels that food is unnecessary, because it's only that the powerful involvement in whatever activity that the person has that's distracting him from food is what's not allowing the body's hunger to kick in, meaning it's not presenting itself in the forefront of the person's mind. The same thing when the nefesh halakis is fully excited about its love and awe of Hashem. So what occurs is the nefesh habahamis and the body are not in the forefront, and they're not able to exert their influence. But it's not that they've become convinced by the nefesh halakis or any way with the program of the nefesh halakis. When the person removes himself from the godly understanding, since in the body and the animal soul there was no refinement and no elevation whatsoever, no purification took place in the body and the animal soul. So when he stops engaging in the spiritual, then it could be that the person should fall down to such a completely opposite extreme of where he was before. Before he was at a very high level, and now he could fall down very low. Why? Because when he stops doing those things that distracted him from the body and the animal soul, so now the body and the animal soul that don't have that distraction anymore, they can come back in full force. This is also what is brought down in the Gemara that some of the davens needs to focus his eyes below and his heart upwards. What does that mean? Chassidus explains as follows: if he will not have any connection with the below, he will not try to influence and bring the ideas and emotions of davening down to the world that the nefesh habahamis can relate to and the body can relate to. Though during davening, the davening is about bonding and joining with Hashem. Like we always bring down the word tefillas and the word hatoifel klicheres, someone that's throwing pottery, meaning joining the different pieces of mud and so on together. So even though during davening the person finds himself in a high state, still in all after davening. Then after davening, there has to be the avodah of knowing him in all your ways, meaning that he's leaving the shul, he's leaving the Beis Medrash, and now he's going out into the world, and he's going to eat, and he's going to drink, and he's going to work. But it's not enough to eat and drink and work. It's important that when he's in the world, he needs to be aware while you're doing your own ways of the Eibishter. That's the ultimate purpose, that the person should serve Hashem in all of his matters. Since the person during davening did not affect anything in his body and his animal soul, so therefore, therefore, it could be that he should fall down below from one extreme to another extreme. Therefore, the desired manner of service is that despite the great distance of value and level between the neshama and the body, the Kol Makom still in all it says, behold, Esav is a brother to Yaakov. What's the emphasis on saying that Esav and Yaakov are brothers? Esav corresponds to and represents Klippa, Nafsha Bahamis, the body. Yaakov represents the Neshama, Kedusha, etc. So it needs to be in a way of brotherhood and fraternity. Shamavader, Yaakov, Amizbader, Esav, both the one that is refining, which is symbolized by Yaakov, and the one that's being refined has to be, which is Esav. They're standing close to and in brotherhood one to another. What does that mean? Line 20. As much as they seem to be distant from each other, Yaakov and Esav, the neshama and the body, we need to know that according to the camel, that is the load that is placed upon it. So therefore, even though the body and the animal soul seem very far, and I'm looking and I'm saying, how can I deal with it? How can I change it? Top of page 10, since this neshama was enclosed in this body, and we mentioned before, it could be a case where the neshama and body are two extremes. The neshama is very high, the body is very low. That they have a connection one with the other. And the avoid has to be in a way that he's enclosed in it, he's engaging with it. That the one who's doing the refining has to become enclosed in the refined, in the thing that's being refined to refine it. That's the content of the Maimer Chazal we mentioned before. That even when his heart is upwards and he's dealing with very lofty spiritual things, he has to put his eyes down below. He has to focus on the below and to engage and transform the Nafsha Bahamis and the body. Stop over here. Any questions?